Shalom, this is the brother Abaya back here once again. Before I get started, like always, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, Bahasham, Rakakadash. Double honor to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, the minute I learned the truth from. Shalom, peace and blessings goes out to the hopeful elect. Shalom. I'm going to touch on this whole notion of the 7-year Great Tribulation that these Christianity fools have spewed throughout the earth. Another one of their false doctrines. All right. What you got to understand is the Bible is very simple. The Bible is a history book dealing with the relationship between the children of Israel and their power, Yahweh, the Most High. All right. And them being brought back to their power, the Most High Yahweh, through his first begotten, his only begotten, the first spirit created, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, Hebrew name being Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Shah. He brings the seed of Israel back to the Father, all right, with its sacrifice. So let's deal with this chapter here, Daniel chapter 9, because this is the main chapter they use to back up some 7-year tribulation. So I'm gonna go down straight to the point where they pick it up at, and this is going to be a kind of a quick breakdown. You can really go in depth into this because it's a history. The Bible is a history book. You can always go, in depth, but for time's sake, right now I'm just run through it. Lord willing to be edifying, but this is Daniel. Oh, and let me read the first verse here, just so you understand what's going on here. This is Daniel chapter 9, verse 1. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. So Israel, here it is. We have a book of Daniel. Israel was in captivity under who? It was a Persian and Mede captivity. So it's clearly this is clearly a message being told to the Israelites, the seed of Israel, the children of Israel, to them, all right, while they're serving their servitude under the Persian and Mede captivity. This is Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. It says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. Let's start right there. Now, when told 70 weeks thing, it's what's the term they have for it? It's called a heptad, right? Which is a group of 7. All right, so group of 7 is it's the terminology that they're using is it's a group of 7. So basically, you will multiply everything by 7. What do I mean by that? Let me get Leviticus. Let me go to the other tab I got pulled up, because the Lord stated this in Leviticus, the 25th chapter. Leviticus chapter 25, to make it very simple for you. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 8. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, all right, 7 times 7 years. And the space of 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years, all right. So let me read that again. Thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. All right. So we're dealing with multiplying by 7. So the 70 weeks, all right, we're going to multiply that by 7. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people, okay? All right. So 70 times 7 is what? 490. So we're not dealing with actually 70 weeks. We're dealing with 490 years. All right. And this heading right here should tell you what it's about. 70 weeks and the Messiah. So we're dealing with a message from the time that they're in right now in the Persian and Mede captivity up until the Messiah. All right. So that lets you know it's dealing with years right there. So 70 weeks times 7 is 490 years. All right. So 490 years are determined upon thy people. Now with this whole 7-year great tribulation, these Christians, right, mainly these Edomite Christians, these so-called white people, they try to use this as a time where, we're everybody that's left behind from the pre-tribulation rapture that didn't get raptured are going to go through hell on earth for 7 years with the Antichrist. Just a whole fairy tale and whatnot. Now, there is going to be a time of trouble, that Jacob's trouble. That's why it's called Jacob's trouble. It's going to be a time of trouble on the face of this earth. All right, a time of trouble that we're heading fast toward right now, but it's not 7 years. There's no 7 year great tribulation stated of in the Bible. It's going to be a time of trouble. All right, but see, this here says that 490 years are determined upon thy people. It ain't talking about the Lord dealing with you Edomites or Moabites or Ishmaelites, even though you're going to be here receiving judgments too, as you are right now. The Lord this is a relationship between the Lord and his people being brought back to him through the sacrifice of the Messiah. Okay. Now who was the Lord's people? Let me go back to the other tab. It said 490 years, the 70 weeks, the 70 times 7 weeks is determined upon thy people. Let's get First Chronicles, 17th chapter. We're gonna go down to to the point in verse 21. And it says, and what one nation in the earth is like thy people Israel, right? Thy people Israel, whom the Most High Yahweh went to redeem to be his own people, to make thee a name of greatness and terribleness by driving out nations from before thy people, whom thou hast redeemed out of Egypt, right? For thy people Israel, didst thou make thine own people forever. Let me read that again. For thy people Israel didst thou make thine own people forever, and thou, Lord, becamest their power, and thou, Yahweh, becamest their power. So the children of Israel are the Lord's people forever. All right? There is no him doing away with his people and allowing heathens to be his people now, or other nations to be his people. No, they're his people forever. That's why he provided a way for Mashiach, who the world calls Jebus, who Yahweh HaMashiach came back for, to redeem them back to their power, to reconcile that relationship. All right, verse 23. Therefore now, Yahweh, let the thing that thou hast spoken concerning thy servant and concerning his house be established forever. And do as thou hast said. Let it even be established that thy name may be magnified forever, saying, Yahweh of hosts is the power of Israel, or of all people, is the power of Israel, even a power to Israel. And let the house of David thy servant be established before thee. So let's go back to Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. 70 weeks, 490 years are determined upon thy people, Israel, and upon thy holy city. Well, what's the holy city? You know that's Jerusalem. To finish the transgression. All right, let's keep that in mind what that is. And to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Now, the Lord said this is determined upon his people to make an end of sins. Are they able to make an end of sins when they couldn't even keep when we couldn't even keep the first covenant? No. To make reconciliation for iniquity. Are they able to make reconciliation for iniquity without the temple, without the Levitical priests, and even within that, the temple was continually destroyed. Here's the major point. And to bring in everlasting righteousness. Is the seed of Israel able to bring in everlasting righteousness by themselves? All right. Or do they need something? Do they need a cheat code, a trump card, right? An ace in the hole for them to be brought back to their power, since they were chosen and the Lord had to keep his word, his promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for he is a man that he cannot lie. So he had to make, even though his people went off, he had to make them a way to get back to him. So that reconciliation, let's get the word reconciliation. Let's get the word reconciliation. Where am I at? Right here. Here we go. And it says to cover, purge, make an atonement, make reconciliation, right? To atone for sin, to pacify, to propitiate. Okay, so yeah, the point there. Let's go back where we was at. So let's continue in Daniel chapter 9. All right. So this is what was determined upon the seed of Israel, the children of Israel. They gotta finish the transgression, make an end of sins, make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness. They couldn't do that on themselves. So here's the point we have now. Verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks. Right? 7 times 7 is what? 49 years. Okay. So I'm not gonna look up the dates. I mean, I could, but you can do that for yourself. So the 49 weeks they will get the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem. Okay. That would be, I mean, the 7 weeks, that would be 49 years. Okay, remember we're dealing with a whole 490-year prophecy. So let me read this whole verse and then I'm gonna get into the commandment. It says, know therefore, understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks, 49 years, and 62 weeks. Right? Now, 60 is what? I gotta get a new slow. Where was that? Oh, and 62 weeks. 60 is what? It would be 60. 62 weeks. All right. 62 weeks. Okay. 62 times 7 is what? It would be 434 years. Okay. 434 years. 62 weeks. All right. So from the going forth of the commandment unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, 49 years. Right. And 62 weeks. 434 years. 49 plus 434 would be what? 483. So that's 483 years from, remember we're dealing with a whole 490-year prophecy, okay? So from the time they got this commandment to restore and build Jerusalem up to the time that Messiah would come on the scene would be 483 years, all right, together, right? So let's get where the commandment was given. That's in the book of Ezra, where the commandment was given to rebuild the city, because you had 3 separate decrees, which is why we always say that the Persians and the Medes actually, out of all the captivities of Israel, they actually, allowed us to rebuild, the temple and the holy city. But it was 3 separate decrees. All right, so you gotta count from the right decree, and you want to count from the last and final decree, which is Ezra. So it would be Ezra the 7th chapter. All right. So from this decree, all right, up until Messiah will be the first 483 years out of this 490-year prophecy. Okay. So let's go down to verse 11. All right. This is the king's decree from Artaxerxes. It said, now this is the copy of the letter that the king Artaxerxes gave unto Ezra the priest and the scribe, even a scribe of the words of the commandments of the Lord and of his statutes of Israel. Artaxerxes, king of kings, unto Ezra the priest, a scribe of the law of the God of heaven, perfect peace, and at such a time. It says, I make a decree that all they of the people, that all they of the people of Israel, and of his priests and Levites in my realm, which are minded of their own free will to go up to Jerusalem, go with with thee. All right. And he goes on and he gives the whole detail of what they can do to start rebuilding the temple in the city. So that was the decree. So like I said, you can look up the dates from yourself and count the dates yourself and add up the time, but I'm just giving a run through right now. So that's from that decree up until Messiah, all right, will be 483 years. Okay, remember we're multiplying everything by 7. Verse 26. Oh no, let me continue. It says, let me go back up to verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince shall be shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. All right, and that's a key point too, because they were dealing with still being in captivity. They wasn't sovereign. They were still going through, tough times, but they was able to start rebuilding the city again. All right. Verse 26. And after 62 weeks, all right, shall Messiah be cut off. Okay. So from all this time, from all these years, all right, over 400 years, all the way up to Messiah came on the scene. All right. After the 62 weeks, all right, he will what? Be cut off. All right. After the 434 years, he was going to be cut off, but not for himself. But not for himself. Why was Messiah not cut off for himself? Well, let's go back to verse 24 and let's deal with uh, what was determined upon thy people. Okay. Oh, and I just want to say something real quick, just in case you're not following too well. The 434 years happened. It went from the end of the first 49 years. Okay. So it was a long period up until Messiah came, from them finishing the city. All right, from them being able to rebuild the temple in the city. Because remember, after the Persian and Mede captivity, what happened? They went into captivity again. All right, and then went into captivity again from Greece to Rome. So it was a long span until Messiah actually came. Okay, but he was cut off not for his people, not for himself, but for who? His people. So let's deal with what was stated in verse 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression. Who was going to finish the transgression? Let's get Matthew the 23rd chapter. Because basically Christianity don't even realize this whole chapter, just Daniel chapter 9, proves that the Lord only came for Israel, Yasharallah, the Lord's people, his chosen seed. Matthew chapter 23, verse 32. It reads, uh, straight to the point. It says, fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, right? This is when the Lord was cursing out the wicked scribes and Pharisees, because when you go to verse 29, he says, woe unto you scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous. So he was cursing them out. And he told them to fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, ye serpents, ye generation of vipers. How can ye escape the damnation of hell? So he was letting them know, fill ye up the measure of your fathers, right? Can you do that? No, they couldn't do that. They couldn't finish the transgression if they were so mighty. Because remember, they was waiting on Messiah to do that for them, but they just didn't believe that he was the Messiah, Mashiach. So he said, fill ye up in the measure of your fathers. But he knew that he was there to do that, right? So to finish the transgression, to make the end of sins, okay? To make the end of sins. Let's get where we want to go. Let's get Hebrews, the 9th chapter. Hebrews, the 9th chapter, verse 26. Straight to the point. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now once in the end of the world have he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. So he put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. Right? To make reconciliation. Let's go to this. To make reconciliation for iniquity. Let's touch on that. Let's get Romans. Let's get the book of Romans. Let's go down to verse 8. It says, but the Most High Yahweh commendeth his love towards us, in that while we were yet sinners, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach died for us. Much more then, being now justified by his blood, we shall be saved from the wrath through him. For if when we were enemies, we were reconciled, right? We were reconciled to the Most High by the death of his Son. Much more being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. So he was the reconciliation, all right, for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness. All right. Let's get, we can stay in Romans and jump down to verse 19. Is this dealing This is dealing with the the beauty of the Lord's sacrifice. So we can stay right here, and we're gonna everlasting right. Let's deal with the everlasting righteousness. Let's see. Yeah, let's just read 19. It says, "For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, all right, so by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous." All right. The first Adam went off, and we were made sinners, and the second Adam came and um, finished the deal, and became that sacrifice to basically reconcile us back to the Father. So let me go back to Daniel chapter 9, and I gotta run through this now because I don't. My computer, man, only allows me to do so much time on the videos. Yeah. So now we know the Messiah was not cut off for himself. Yep. Daniel chapter 9, verse 26. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city. This is somebody else. Semicolon. And the people of the prince, who's the people of the prince? Right? That shall come. Who's going to come? Shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Who's going to destroy the city and the sanctuary? And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. Right? Well, the Lord talked about who this prince was that's going to come and destroy the city, the people of the prince. And actually, it's you so-called white people, you Edomites, right? Because the Romans destroyed the city. What did I just? John the 14th chapter. The Romans destroyed the city, all right, in 70 A.D. But John chapter 14, verse 30, straight to the point. The Lord spoke about this prince. It said, "Hereafter I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh and have nothing in me." Right? Wasn't the Lord telling them to render unto Caesar what Caesar's? Whose face was on the money? Shit, whose face is on the money now? Over here in America. It's the same guy. Same prince of the world. Right? The wicked one that's ruling right now. The son of perdition. The mystery of iniquity. Now, let's go back to Daniel chapter 9. It says, "And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary." Right? "And the end thereof shall be with a flood." Right? "And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined." Right? So let's get Luke, because the Lord spoke about this prince coming to destroy the city. Who was that prince? It was Titus. Right? Titus and Vespasian together, but it was actually Titus at the end that led the way. But did I go to Luke 12? Luke 21. Luke 21. Where the Lord spoke about them coming and destroying the city. Luke chapter 21, verse 20. "And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter in thereto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled." Okay? So this had to be fulfilled. What was written here. Verse 27. "And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week." All right? Now we had 483 years, but we're dealing with a whole 490-year prophecy. So this is the last 7 left. 1 week. 1 times 7 is 7. All right. So 7 years. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So that's going into what they did after they destroyed the temple, and made Jerusalem desolate. And I'm gonna finish it off in Luke chapter 21, verse 23. "But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people," the seed of Israel. "And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled." So you Gentiles are still ruling right now. Hope this was edifying. Till next time I say shalom.